We live, we live. Hey, hey, what's going on, YouTube world? Let me make sure my setup is good. Okay, okay. Yeah, yeah. I just want to do a little video on comparing Elvis and R.Kelly because I didn't know that they were kind of doing similar things, and one wasn't arrested and one was. So I'm gonna show a couple clips. I don't want to show too much. It's so easy to get banned on here for somebody to flag your video. So I want to see if we can listen to both sides of the situation and see why one was given 30 years and one was never charged at all. And it's a video that I found of an interview with R. Kelly when he was asking him simple questions that he felt like he couldn't answer. So I'm gonna start this video up, then I'm gonna come back to the recap, and then I'm gonna do the other video.
You like teenage girls?
When you say teenage, how old are we talking?
Okay. From that line right there, you can see there's no way to even ask that question. If you're a man above 30, him saying that was very uncomfortable. Let's continue.
Girls who are teenagers,
19?
19 and younger.
I have some 19-year-old friends, but I don't like anybody illegal if that's what we're talking about.
You see how quick he calls himself? He calls himself fast. Uh, right here, this goes to mental illness. I think a lot of people are not aware of mental illness. And I think this man was mentally bad, not realizing that he was molested by his aunt for years and no one said anything. So his mindset may be a different from most men's mindset. But let's continue.
Underage.
Uh-huh. Some people think that you like underage girls. What do you say to that?
Well, those people that don't know Robert, they don't know me.
Okay, so how much do you have to know about someone to know that they like underage girls? And at this time, I know this man is at least 30 years old, and he's speaking like this, and it's very disturbing. But like I said, in Hollywood, there's a lot of stuff that's disturbing that we don't pay attention to. So I'm gonna continue this video, and then we're gonna talk about the next statement because this is gonna be a wild video.
So I usually don't get into what people think about me, because all my career, even before the trial, people have had their opinions about Robert, and that's probably because it has a lot to do with me. I kind of stay shy away from the crowd, because I'm always in the studio, digging deep into the basement all the time of my house, creating music. So, people, when they don't know you and they can't really.
No offense, I think that was a reference to the so-called little basement dungeon thing he was talking about in the bottom of his basement making music, which we all know that he had underage women down there, underage girls. Let me correct that, and just doing so much stuff. But I still think it's a logic to the situation. But we definitely let's go on.
Touch you like they could someone else, they seem to form opinions or have thoughts about you that they like to think. So
Some of the people who have worked with you have said that there's an issue here. Your former manager has said publicly that there's an issue of concern here. Your brother Kerry has said there's an issue of concern here.
Issue of concern?
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean when you say issue of concern?
They've said that they're concerned that you like underage girls.
And that's where it goes to Hollywood. They're concerned. How can you be concerned if you assume someone like underage girl, especially a older man like that? Like, what you mean concerned? Where would that even stem from? Why would that even be a conversation? So you could tell that a lot of things was going on, which people noticed but still didn't say anything. Let's continue.
Let me put it to you this way, man. Unfortunately, the people that don't work for me says that, the people that do work for me don't say that.
Yeah, they're not gonna say that because you're paying them. All right, we're gonna end this clip right here with R. Kelly interview, which is real funny, and I wanted to show y'all something else. Now, this is Priscilla Presley. Now, this was supposed to be Elvis's wife, which she said she met him at 14 and he was 24. And no one said anything about it. You know, I'm surprised I didn't hear about it earlier, but he was actually married to a 14-year-old while he was 24. Now, I know this is Elvis Presley, you know, the king of rock and roll, but same comparison with R. Kelly being the king of hip hop it shouldn't have been no difference on how they were treated. But let's go on an interview that she had with I guess this is Larry King Live, and I'm gonna start it right now.
You were very young. How young were you?
14.
Now, what was it? What are your memories like at 14 of meeting someone this gigantic on the world stage who was then in the army, right?
Right,
And your father was lifelong military.
right, in the Air Force.
What was that like?
You have to remember that when I met Elvis, you know, it wasn't the fanfare that it is today, or even when he was here in the States and I was in Germany growing up. So I saw him at a very vulnerable time. He had just lost his mother. And
Now, this is at the time a 13-year-old saying that a 23-year-old was vulnerable, which doesn't make logical sense because you are vulnerable at the age you are, and you wasn't pleased to even have conversations on that level with an individual, with a man at that age. So we see that, to me, race-based, you can tell the difference. I'm sorry. You can tell the difference between a white man dating an older woman and a black man dating an older woman, and the stigmas between it. Let's continue.
he was grieving. And I came into his life, and he somehow, you know, felt like confiding in me and talking to me, and I was.
And let's not forget, with both individuals, their parents introduced the children to them. It wasn't just they went up and met them and, you know, things happened. They was the parents. It was always the parents that injected the child to the individual, depending on their startup. Let's continue.
I was like a sounding board for him as a 14-year-old kid.
But did you feel ready for something serious?
Not really. I don't feel, as far as something serious,
No offense, but Larry King just asked her, did she feel like it would be something? Did she feel like it would be something serious? How could a 13-year-old girl find a relationship serious with a 24-year-old man? This is weird. For him to even be asking those questions, you see that they accept it. It's no problem in that culture for them to be dating an underage girl. Mind you, she's 13 years old. Let's continue.
didn't realize at that time how serious it was. You know, I had my mother and my father convincing me that he'd be going back to Hollywood.
Now you heard that they were convincing her to pursue him in Hollywood. So you have to know that was the engine for money. They looking at it as money, which I feel like is the same situation in the R. Kelly situation, because it was the parents that was introducing their children to him, which reenact the whole situation that happened. But I guess you only get spoken about when it's when your skin is darker. But let's proceed.
And he'd be back with the actresses and dating them, and that he wasn't serious about me at all. So I had him saying one thing to me and my parents telling me something else.
And so he was saying he loves you,
Yeah.
and they were telling you this is a teenage crush.
Right.
And you'll
Well,
get over
they didn't really know how serious it was between us. They, you know, they were very fond of him. They were very fond of his father. They were both, my gosh, there was Southern hospitality and very, very humble. And that's the way it was back then, you know. But they met my
That's how it was back then. So that maybe was a normal thing that happened where parents would introduce their children to celebrities, hoping that the celebrity would hopefully not impregnate them, but just become I guess partners in the situation because this is really, really, really disgusting. You know what I mean? I'm a father, so I could never see myself just handing my child over to some grown man because he makes music. But that's the world we living in. But let her continue with the interview.
my parents, and it was like the old-fashioned way where they meet and they agree upon things together, and
When they learned how serious it was, were they upset?
yes, my father. I guess it all really started after Elvis came back to the States. It was 1960. And I didn't hear from Elvis right away. And my mother said, see, I told you he was going to forget about you. You know, and they had told me that I had to start a life and get back to school and start doing.
They sounded like they were upset because she didn't pursue him the way they wanted her to at 13. Now y'all please gotta tell me I know something is wrong with this. Like I do not understand. But like I said, I see it must be a different bias when it comes to African Americans and Caucasians because to me both situations are wrong. But the way one is speaking on it, one interviewer is speaking on it like it's a like it was a decisional moment, and then the other one is speaking to R.Kelly as if he was doing something wrong. So I want to see where the line is crossed on just being perverse. Like it should be a line. It shouldn't even be no line. 1921 is the line. Like I just think society is sick at this point. But let's continue.
Doing the things that a young schoolgirl should be doing, which was very difficult. I confided in no one. I had one friend, I believe I told what was going on, and that was it.
So
Then
what happened?
I was started calling about 21 days after I got back, and that's when it all started again.
And they couldn't.
Look, and you could tell that somebody knew that something wasn't right with that. Because she only had one person to speak to on it. And that was it. So obviously there was something wrong. But as you can see, it's the parents. It could be the parents most of the time that initiate situations like that. That's why I think a lot of these parents have to be put on the stand when these situations happen too. But the American government don't want to give up too much because I think a lot of time they be involved with a lot of situations too. We're gonna go back to the rest of this R. Kelly uh, interview just because I want to finish it off with this because this is just outrageous, but easy to talk about. Very easy to talk about because you see that morality is not a big thing in Hollywood, as you can see.
And the people that don't work for me were fired. If you had someone work for you and they're mad because they're not working for you anymore, they're used to getting a certain amount of money or they're used to getting a certain amount of fame because they work for you because you're famous, and all of a sudden they mess you around and then you let them go. Anything that comes up about you, they're gonna run and say, yeah, you know, they did that to me. I knew this too about them. But you really can't, you know, I don't want you, I don't want BET, I don't want my fans. Do not listen to the people that was fired.
This man is smart. Robert Kelly is very smart. So he felt like because he fired the individuals that were telling the truth, that made them a liar. Or they should be considered liars because they were fired. And this is how people do. People with power it's very easy for someone with power to discredit a regular individual. That's just I guess that just comes with the popularity and popularity comes with power. So you can tell somebody anything you want if you're making $100,000 a week compared to somebody that could be broke and homeless and just speaking the truth. And that goes to a lot to the Bible. You know what I mean? Like I always say rich people wrote the Bible because you have to have power to do things intent to keep power. So you know what I mean? He very funny guy, but it's not a funny situation.
You know, don't even listen to the people that was hired. You know, listen to the facts and get and get into what you think and make your own opinions. If you're gonna have opinion about me, have your opinion about what you may think about me. You know, what you definitely don't do is go by somebody that was fired and they're mad and pissed off at me because they were fired.
But your brother Kerry was not fired. He's still your brother.
Yeah, he was fired.
Okay, he's still your brother.
Yo. So wait. So you're telling me this guy, you can tell this guy, okay, he may make beautiful music and everything, but you can tell he's not very educated. Like he doesn't understand the level of questions that's being asked to him. He seems like he seems like somebody like a child in eighth grade that's just trying to make their point without being logical. Let me just continue because I gotta finish watching.
Doesn't matter. He's still my brother, but if he's still my brother, why did he get fired?
Why did he get fired?
I can't get into that.
Okay,
you know,
fair enough. But
let me just say this. You know, we may fire each other. I fired him 1,000 times and rehired him.
yeah,
You know, but you know, hey, it's unfortunate that it's like this. But when you're me, when you're R.Kelly, everybody want a piece of you. And if you don't give them a piece, they'll find a way to get a piece of you, one way or the other. And I've been.
Now he's not lying about that. People know how to blackmail you, especially if you're famous. They will blackmail you in a second. So I feel that part, but trust me, they always telling the truth. He just found a way to get away from the people that were in yes men. You know, in this world, when you got money, it's a lot of yes men that just allow you to do things with no, what you call that? No accountability to the situation. Let me continue.
Blackmailed 1 billion times in my career. Before the trial, during the trial, after the trial, I've been sued for stuff that ridiculous things, you know. At one point in my life, I was an ATM machine, you know.
yeah.
People just come up and just push whatever, and if it don't come out, they'll go tell somebody this, or they'll go.
But if you ain't doing nothing wrong, what are they gonna tell? What are they gonna tell? Just because you don't give somebody no money don't mean they can tell. But you ain't give them no money, that mean they had something on you, some kind of dirt on you, which we seen and found out. So you could tell he was being pulled for money. And I'm not surprised if a lot of the people that was benefiting off that wasn't even his color. But let me let this end and let's see. So sad to see our people just lying, blatantly lying.
Run and say this and run and say that. You know, I'm used to that. I'm you know, you don't get used to it. Let me take that back. I'm not used to it, but I'm used to the fact that I know that people will do this. Sometimes even your own family members. And I don't hate none of them. But I know a lot of people be out to get me because I'm very vulnerable, man, especially a 7-year trial.
So there's no issue here. They're all wrong. There's no issue here. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, we're gonna end on that note. You just see the lies just like but like I said, in his own mind, he probably didn't even understand what was going on. Okay. Now we're gonna also finish with Presley, with Elvis, which he dated her at when she was 13, and I guess in society it's okay when you're a certain color. Let me proceed.
Couldn't do anything to stop it.
No, not at that age. No, it was difficult because he would call at all hours of the night. We'd talk on the phone 2 and 3 hours at a time. I was encouraged to go to school and to even date somewhat, you know.
Did you?
I did a little, yeah, I
Is
did.
that weird dating a guy who knows you're going off with Elvis Presley?
Well, he didn't know. They didn't know.
No one knew.
No, it was to be kept a secret.
So memory phase. How did it pull it all off? How did you finally? We're going to get married and got married.
Well, I feel like I'm repeating myself. You know, I wrote the book, so I feel
I
like
know,
this
but
is
it's been
old
so
news.
long.
I know, I know.
I'm going to go by this quickly. I'm
Okay.
gliding through.
All right, all right. I just don't want to bore your audience.
You're not
That's it.
boring. There's a whole new level. What Elvis has sold 1 billion records,
Yes.
right, worldwide.
Worldwide.
There's a whole
1
element.
billion records.
That's true.
1 billion records. So I wonder if that makes a difference on your morality and the type of albums you sell. Because you see, when you ain't making no more money for the music industry, that's when they come after your ass. So I guess it was the same thing with him. He had to keep making music, or he's gonna be in the same predicament. But let me see. I just want to end. I want to catch a little bit of the end of her conversation, just so we could get a good comprehension on each other's situation.
100.
My guest is Priscilla Presley. She heads the Dream Foundation. We're going to talk about that. A lot of things she's involved with. You're going to produce something, right?
Yeah.
You're bringing back an old.
Yes, an old movie.
We're going to get to that. We'll be right back with Priscilla Presley right after this.
Okay. So as you can see, both R. Kelly and Elvis Presley were both dating underage girls. One got arrested, one didn't. Yeah, apologize for that. But as you see, it's a situation where I want y'all to tell me what's the difference in this situation. Like why was one person given 30 years and the other person never got a piece of time? It was just fine. The same thing. R. Kelly married Aaliyah at 14. Elvis Presley married Priscilla at 14, but yet they both had different outcomes on the situation. So please give me some comments, like, subscribe. You know what I mean? And I really want to get some feedback on this because I feel like I know people don't like to compare the races nowadays because it's not a big deal. It's more of a classism thing, but we still got to speak on it. So I want to hear y'all back. Holla at me. And one more thing, that's my Cash App down there. So if anybody feeling like showing some love, my Cash App is down there. You know what I mean? Hit me up. This probably be one of the few times I put my Cash App as my display name. So like and subscribe, man. Trying to get to 1,000 viewers, 1,000 subscribers. So holla at me.